Oh, hello. Welcome to the 2013 Hundie Challenge. Today we're going to be discussing Ghosts of the Sargasso by Jean-Luc Picard. Dee-doo-dee-doo-doo, dee-doo-dee-doo-doo-dee-doo-dee-doo-doo, dee-doo-dee-doo-doo, dee-doo-dee-doo-dee-doo-dee-doo. This was a bit of a weird one. Not really sure what to tell you. I don't want to dismiss it out of hand, but I'm not sure that I can wholly recommend it. I was comparing it to The Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. Now that book I found just incomprehensible. It was just like nonsensical to me. It's one of the greatest books ever written in the 20th century. So I'm sure there's something there. Some things are just the reader. It's absolutely the case that I hold no grudge against people love 50 Shades of Grey or whatever. I love some shit people can't stand. That's just life. With Wide Sargasso Sea, it has a lot to recommend it. For one thing, I think I went over this when we were talking about I, Claudius. It's not your standard English house in the country, or on the road in America, that most of these books are, because they're English language. This one actually takes place in Jamaica, in early 19th century Jamaica, in fact, which is certainly a place I've never studied. I know next to nothing about. I know a little piffling bit about the Caribbean at that time period, but not enough that this was like jumping into a World War II book or a ancient Rome book like I, Claudius, where I have that baseline knowledge. So I wasn't super confused. I knew enough about the Caribbean to know what a zombie is, or a obeah, and they said obeah is like, voodoo, or I can't think of what's the one in Puerto Rico? Santa Maria. So I mean, it wasn't like I was struggling to understand it, but I didn't entirely understand what was going on in the narrative. There was a lot that was left unsaid, which I guess that's a method. That's like Hemingway's method, is to leave a lot unsaid. So like in this book, you'd be reading and there'd be a paragraph and it would be like, oh, we shouldn't fall in love, and then in like the next paragraph they're married, and you're like, well, okay, I infer that at some point they got married. Or to be like, where they're making love like crazy animals for a couple of paragraphs, and then they're like, this marriage has gone dry and we haven't made love in years. And I'll be like, well, okay, I get that, you're inferring that this all kind of happened off stage, and there's two perspectives. It's all first person. The one perspective is the woman in the marriage, Antoinette, but I think her name is really Bertha, because the man insists on calling her Bertha, and she's mad. So I understand that when it's her perspective, a lot of it is tempered by madness. But the man, as far as I can tell, is not mad, but he still has that same kind of disjointed perspective where it seems like stuff has happened off screen, but without even like chapter breaks. It was a very I guess maybe I want to say it was a challenging read, but the funny thing about that is it was such a smooth read, and it was one of these books that is short and it flows, and I almost sat down and looked up and it was over. It was like not even 200 pages, and it was the kind of page that I've become. I know you don't all care about this necessarily, but there's a decided difference between pages where the print is really densely packed and takes you like 2-3 minutes to get through a page, and something like this where it's like double spaced and like 18-point font, and it takes you like a minute or half a minute to get through the page. Like the best one on that end was The Bridge of San Luis Rey, which I got through about 300 pages, in a day. And I think the most dense one was The Adventures of Augie March, which was just like 2 or 3 minutes to get through a page, and it just took twice as long as it should have. And kids, in case you're wondering, that's why authors count by words instead of by pages, because it's all formatted differently. But back to topic. This was more on the San Luis Rey side of things, in that it was really quick read. Simple language, not a whole lot of... like Kim, you remember I talked about Kim, he had to drop every paragraph, 15, 16 terms about India that were really exclusive. This is not like that. There's maybe 10, 15, exclusive terms to Jamaica that you can pick up in context every time they come up. It's not a hard read. So I'm really kind of ambivalent about it. It's maybe I would have been wiser. That's the other thing about this challenge is sometimes you realize you're burning through a book that you really ought to sit and let it mellow. Maybe that was the case with To the Lighthouse. Maybe if I had read it over the course of a couple weeks and absorbed it slowly, it would have been a different thing. And then there's other books like, Finnegan's Wake. You just have to burn through it, ideally as fast as you can. There you go. I'm stumped. I don't know what to tell you, folks. I can't recommend it. I can't disrecommend it. Who knows? Thanks for tuning in. Next time we will be discussing Ironweed.